Welcome to the Money Pickle Podcast, where you can listen and learn about money without falling asleep. And if you need a better understanding of your financial situation, or maybe you just want a second opinion, head to moneypickle.com, where you can schedule a free 45-minute virtual appointment with one of our experienced professionals. And with that said, let's dive into the episode. Hello everyone, welcome to today's episode. Today with me I have Nick Young and an anonymous advisor. He's a vet of the industry, and it's a good way that we can get some insight on the good and bad without spoiling anything for himself. With me, you have Nick Young, if you'd like to...
I'm Nick Young. I'm co-founder of Money Pickle. Been here since day one.
And I am the anonymous financial advisor. So can you please explain why you had me put this mask on? I mean, my wife asked me to put one every once in a while, but I've never been asked by a grown man to wear a mask. Why am I doing this, Cam?
I promise nothing bad is coming from it, but it's to hide some things so you can be able to say stuff without the backlash of saying something that might be out of line with your identity. What is an example of something that you've experienced as an advisor for the last couple decades that baffled you, that had you scratching your head because it was something so out of sorts and so strange that you didn't really know how to go about?
I am flabbergasted, quite frankly, and maybe I shouldn't be, at just the lack of basic financial knowledge. And I really don't think that it's any individual's fault. What I mean by that is you're not taught how to properly manage your money. What is compound interest? How should you allocate your 401k? Should you be in a Roth? Should you be in a traditional IRA? How much can you afford to spend on a house? Should you pay off this debt versus that debt? Nobody teaches you how to do that. If they do, maybe it's your parents. And quite frankly, adults, as you know, no matter how old you are now, if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, listening to this podcast, or 50s, you realize that adults don't have anything figured out. They're just big kids, you know, and they don't know anything more about money than they did probably when they were 7 or 8 years old. But you have to pretend you know about money so you don't feel like an idiot.
Yeah. Do you think there's some sort of reasoning behind that, or do you think people are scared to talk about money, or like what?
Oh, it's
what do you kind
so
of think?
intimidating. Yeah. It's so intimidating. I can't remember the last time I felt like an idiot, but I think it was very recent that I put on this mask. But just like maybe I don't know how, some basic electronics work, or, your doctor thinks it's very simple on how some functions in your body might work. You think that everybody should know about basic money management, but we just really don't. So that's what really is super appealing. To be a financial advisor and to help people, help community, help friends and family, even myself, with this really important knowledge, because let's face it, there's nothing more important than your physical health, but a close second is your financial health. And nobody talks about it. And everybody makes really big, ugly mistakes. There's no way around it. So I'll just tell you right now, if you're listening to this podcast, you are making mistakes with your money. You're making big mistakes with your money, and they're only going to get worse. And the longer you wait, the bigger the mistake is going to be. The more you're going to cost yourself in taxes, lost potential income. You're doing your family, yourself a disservice to not educate yourself about money, do the right things, or work with a professional.
So what you say that, we're making mistakes. Nick and I might be making mistakes right now. People could be making mistakes. What's an example of one of those mistakes?
Your career choice, I would think.
But what is
a mistake? I thought that was a pretty good joke. What's an example of one of those mistakes? I said your career choice.
Yeah, a career choice, something super specific.
I'm talking about your career choice. You're like, Okay. What are these super big mistakes? Some examples of mistakes.
What's an example of some big mistake that Nick and I could make, or someone in their 40s, 30s, 50s, doesn't matter. But.
Well, the one mistake that pretty much every single person, yourself, even myself, made as somebody in their 20s, but you can recover from any mistakes in your 20s. but not starting early enough, racking up debt, racking up high interest debt, not paying off the high interest before the low interest. All those things really add up. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you don't spend money on having some fun. Let's face it, being a teenager, maybe you went to college, maybe you didn't, but all that is a grind. It's difficult. It's stressful. Yeah, you finally get out on your own. You're entitled to have some fun. So go ahead, go out to eat, have a little bit of fun, go to a concert. But once you get a job, pay yourself first. A lot of people don't pay themselves before they pay everybody else. Absolutely save at least 5% in your 401k. You'll get, whether it's, and even if you don't have a 401k, save at least 5%, if not 10%, in an IRA or some kind of no-load indexed mutual fund.
Yeah.
Money Pickle can help you with those, I'm sure. Pretty much anybody can set up one of those, but don't wait too long. Don't procrastinate.
Yeah.
That is a mistake every single person makes, including everybody listening to this podcast and myself.
And when you're talking about paying yourself, and I know you mentioned the Roth and the 401k, can you pay yourself in some sort of bank account? Like, does it make sense to put 5% into your checking account and just let that grow?
No.
A high yield savings account? What's the difference between that?
No, don't do that. Because if you have access to the money, you're going to go in there and you're going to grab it and you're going to spend it on something fun or frivolous or whatever. It needs to be kind of in a mysterious lockbox.
So it's almost like the access is less, I guess, retrievable, so you can't really touch it, is what you're saying.
Yeah, you wanna ship it away, and you usually do that, and it has to be automated. Mm-hmm. So I don't want you to be able to get your hands on it, and I want it to automatically happen. So you can set up a draft for $50 or $100 a month out of your checking account automatically into a mutual fund. It's a little bit more difficult to pull money out of a mutual fund than it is just going down to your local bank or hitting the ATM. But the best way is in your 401k at work if they have something like that for you.
Right, especially if they have like that match option. I'm sure that's something that you recommend every time, is to max to the top percentage that they're allowing.
Yeah, I mean, that's free money. If your employer offers a match, you absolutely have to save at least up to the maximum of the match. And if you don't, you're really screwing up. Mm-hmm. There's nobody that would disagree with that.
Yeah, definitely.
What's an actual real life experience you've had as an advisor with someone that's come to you with a question that was, this is kind of going off the first thing I said, that not necessarily dumb, but something you were just sitting there, how do I answer this question? How do I even go about helping this person?
Oh, I'll tell you, being a financial advisor, people come in, they're a little bit nervous sometimes, but I'll tell you, when I was starting as a financial advisor, I was very nervous. I remember coming in, I had a tie on at the time. I have this pencil drawer for my desk, and I came in. I said, Mr. and Mrs. Client, they had come to a seminar, and I go to sit down. I notice that drawer is open a little bit, so I'm making eye contact with them. And as I sit down in my chair, I shut the drawer on purpose. Well, what I didn't notice is my tie went in there like that, right? It was horrible. Don't be embarrassed about going to see a financial advisor, because they're humans just like you are. And that sometimes they make mistakes. They do embarrassing things too. And the biggest mistake you could make is trying to do it yourself and not know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. If you disagree with me, try and take out your own appendix sometime and see how that goes. You could probably look on YouTube. You could probably figure it out. But if you make a mistake, it can be fatal. And same with your finances. Work with somebody.
That brings up a question I was interested in asking you. Is I'm sure you've heard it plenty of times. Well, I don't want a financial planner. I'm just going to Google it. Do you have any sort of feedback for people that have that mindset, and why Googling might not be the best option?
I haven't met with too many people. In fact, I can't even remember where there wasn't something that I could help them with, or one of my peers could help them with. Mm-hmm. None of us is as smart as all of us. Most of the concepts are very straightforward, and most people can do this themselves, but they're not going to get 100% on the exam. Mm-hmm. And the questions that they miss, the mistakes that they make, can be very significant and magnified over time. So
Right.
work with a fiduciary, somebody that you can trust. Call somebody like Money Pickle. Have somebody at one of the advisors that Money Pickle works with, kind of walk people through. They walk people through some basics, some that are a little bit more involved. But I think you guys offer a tremendous service.
Okay, so going off of what Nick was saying previously, with Googling up like money questions, I have a question about saving money. I'm gonna Google it. What would you say to those people that are really hesitant in working with an advisor or completely against it whatsoever with working with an advisor? What would you say to those people? What benefit do people gain from working with a financial advisor such as yourself?
Well, it really depends on the person, Cam. Anybody with average or even below average intelligence, if you Google something long enough and research it long enough, you're going to get to the right answer and you're going to make the right decisions. But is that something that you really want to do? Do you have the time to do it? What happens when tax laws change down the road? Like for instance, Nick, you mentioned you're one of the co-founders of Money Pickle. I know you're getting a paycheck. Do you save in the 401k?
Actually, I do not know.
Okay, that's a big mistake. Did you know that? You need to do that, or you cannot work for Money Pickle, a financial company, if you don't save in your 401k.
Yeah.
So we help people every day not make mistakes. Now tell us, Nick, why aren't you saving in the 401k?
Yeah. It's funny that you bring that up, actually. And this is something I've talked about with a couple of people, but I'm more interested personally in hard assets. So I have actually a rental property in East Lansing. I went to Michigan State myself. Me and a couple of my roommates actually, before graduating, purchased a rental property in East Lansing. And that's just something that I'm more passionate towards, I guess. Obviously, there's terms out there that you can Google yourself, but like cash flowing, building equity, that's something that it's more tangible when I have like a rental property. It's something that I can see, touch, and kind of understand better. And not leave it up to the stock market. And that's just my preference.
Okay, so can you afford to do both?
I definitely could. The reason why I don't is I picture when I am interested in buying a rental property, I'd rather have the cash ready to go up front and not have to take any tax penalties that you would see for anyone under I believe it's 59 and a half years old. The penalty that you'd get when you withdraw from a 401k.
Let's talk about that. So does your 401k have a match at Money Pickle?
It does, yes.
Okay, so if you put in 6% of your income, okay, let's just say that comes out to be $1,000 over the course of a couple months, okay? You put in $1,000, how much will Money Pickle match?
I believe it's up to...
It's 50 cents on the dollar up to the first 6%, which means they'll add another 3% to your 6%.
Yep.
So instead of having $1,000 in there, you'll have $1,500 in there immediately, right?
Yep.
And if you pull your money out early, do you know how much penalty you pay?
I think it's somewhere around 15%.
It's 10%,
10%.
excise penalty, right? So what's 10% of $1,500?
About $15 or $150.
Right. What's $1,500 minus $150?
About $1,350.
Yep. What's more, $1,000 or $1,350? At the end of this, which way do you have more money for your real estate?
Well, I would have to say $1,350 is more than $1,000.
So that, folks, is why I work with a financial advisor. Okay.
That's
Next
a great
question.
point.
Yeah, I've never looked at it from that point of view.
That's a great point.
That is a great point. That was good. So I want to hop into some Q&A questions, if that's okay with you.
Sure. They're coming right back at you, Cam. Care what you ask.
I can't. I don't want to be belittled like that.
Just simple math.
So I want to pay off my student loans, and I'm trying to figure out if I want to do that before buying a house. And my income is $150,000 annually, and I am in $20,000 of student debt. What would you consider I do? What path should I take?
Okay, well, that's an excellent question. You really have to look at the whole picture, because what's missing in this equation is what is the interest rate on your home purchase, how much are you putting down, where are you getting the money for the down payment, and then how much interest would the mortgage be. So when I mean, it'll be simple math that either you can Google and work through on your own, or work with a financial advisor, a competent financial advisor, and they'll be able to direct you. But one of the powerful things about real estate, and by the way, I'm also a big fan of real estate, and the reason is leverage. You can control a large amount of property for a small amount of money, because usually you have to put 10 or 20% down on real estate, but you get the appreciation on the bricks and mortar and dirt on the bank's money, which is fantastic. So you get that whether it's your primary residence or an investment property. Also, if it's an investment property, you get a lot of deductions. So it really depends on all those circumstances and the other things that you're trying to do in your life. I mean, everybody needs to really start with some, 3 buckets of money. You have your now money, your soon money, and your later money. So, your now money is what you're going to spend in the next couple of years. Keep that in the bank, keep it liquid, keep it safe. Don't worry about compound interest or investing it or any of that. Your soon money, that has to be liquid, but you can take a little bit more risk with it. Maybe you're going to spend it in 3 years, 5 years, 7 years. And then your later money, which can be tied up in something illiquid like real estate or a 401k or something. So you really have to look at the whole picture. Also, are you getting married? Do you file single? Do you file jointly? There's a lot that goes into that equation. And at the end of the day, it's all a judgment call. You don't really know if you made the right decision or the wrong decision.
Right.
So that's why it's kind of nice to work
I
with
also
a
feel
professional.
I feel like right and wrong is different for anyone. Like, there's no such thing as right and wrong for me.
Don't try
as
and
well
get
as
out of
Cam.
it. It is wrong not to put money in your 401k. $1,350 will buy you more real estate than $1,000. Any way you slice it, and leverage more. So that was wrong.
Well, end of the year. What
that
about
is the exception to there's no right and wrong.
What about your taxable income end of the year? Taking that taxable income out, you got to pay that in for taxes. If I fronted all that cash for that rental property, will I be left short? What do I do then?
Okay, so if you put money in your 401k, it goes in before tax, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that $1,000 hasn't been taxed. It will be if you pull the money out, like I mentioned earlier. So you'd pay taxes and penalties on the $1,500.
Right.
But you would have never had the $1,000 in there in the first place, because that would have gone, if you weren't putting in your 401k, that would have been after tax, and you actually would have only ended up with about $750 if you'd pay 20% income taxes plus, say 4 or 5% state taxes.
Right. Okay.
So either way, the net result after tax is you're much better off doing the exact opposite thing that you're doing.
Yeah. And then I wanted to get your thoughts on this as well. Another reason that I'm kind of hesitant when it comes to the whole 401k thing is essentially you're leaving the fate of your money up to how the stock market performs. And I know with how the economy has performed these past 2 years or so, we've seen a lot of people that can't retire, unfortunately, because of what we're seeing. What would you say about that? And for anyone that invested for all these years that we're told, hey, maybe not right now is not the right time.
No matter what you invest in, be it anything risky like cryptos, real estate, hard assets, any type of collectibles, the stock market, bonds, any type of real estate, commercial, residential, a business, you're taking a risk. There is no risk-free investment that pays a decent rate of return.
Right.
So you're trading safety for opportunity, and most financial advisors would recommend that you diversify. And there has been plenty of real estate crises. A lot of people lost everything, including their primary residence, placed the roof over their head because of real estate crisis in 08 and 09. A lot of people lost everything in the stock market. That's why you diversify. That's why you don't put all your eggs in one basket, be it real estate or the stock market. It's just a lot easier to be liquid and flexible in the 401k and
Definitely.
stock market world
Yep.
than real estate. It's hard to undo a mistake in real estate. It's easy to reposition your assets in a 401k, but that doesn't mean one is better than the other. It just means maybe you should diversify.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
When going off of diversifying, like what percentage split would you say that you'd put into specific things? Like some people would prefer a Roth over a 401k, and there's 403bs. And then obviously you have NASDAQ, you have Dow, you have S&P 500. What percentages of that diversification would you put into each thing?
Well, the old, when I was going through financial planning school way back in the day, they used to say, take your age, take 100, number 100, minus your age, and that's the amount of percentage that you should have in stocks. So if you're 80 years old, you should have 20% in stocks, 80% in bonds. Your age is the amount that you should have in something safe and secure, and I'm here to tell you that's total hogwash. It's ridiculous, and it makes no sense. Especially in the last year here, bonds got crushed.
Mm-hmm.
Interest rates went up, and the value of bonds went down. Anybody that followed that model or target date fund and thought they were conservative lost between 15 and 25% last year. I mean, that's not a safe way for an 80-year-old to have their money. So it really needs to be diversified. It needs to be properly managed. Anybody knew that interest rates were going up. You need to pivot out of bonds, certainly long-term bonds at that point.
Mm-hmm.
You need to lock in all of your mortgage and leveraged assets at that point when interest rates are going up. You need to be flexible. And if you have the time, the interest, the desire, the ambition to look into all these things for yourself and the percentages and the net tax implications of everything you're doing, by all means, go ahead and do it. Problem is, a lot of people think that they can do it, and they probably can. They have the intellect for it. But one or two little mistakes, and it's financially fatal.
Mm-hmm.
You can recover from it a lot of times, but a lot of times you can't. Or if the husband manages all the money and he dies, where does that leave the wife? So that's why I'm a big fan of working with a financial advisor. But there's a lot of crappy financial advisors out there too. They overcharge, or they're not a fiduciary, or they're going through their own personal problems, or they're too much of a gambler or not a gambler enough. That's why it really is important to work with somebody that's experienced and somebody you trust. And that's not always easy to find. And that's one of the beautiful things about Money Pickle, is that you guys do a lot of research on your Pickle Pros before you allow them to talk to anybody that calls in looking for a conversation about their money.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. I actually wanted to ask you about that. Being a financial advisor, how, I guess, when you get a new client or a client that you might have been working with for 10, 15 years, do you view yourself as, just someone that looks at their money, or do you guys essentially build a friendship?
Well, our profession is unlike any other profession. I mean, dentists, you come and go. Even your attorney can come and go. You don't have to re-explain everything to somebody. If you go in and your dentist is on vacation, you get a cleaning by somebody else, it's no big deal.
Mm-hmm.
You wish that your guy or your woman was there, that you're used to, but it's not a big deal. You don't want to have to re-explain everything, your likes and your dislikes and your fears and your whole situation, your family situation, the dynamics with the kids, and maybe you have a special needs relative, or different concerns or plans with a parent moving in with you, or you moving in with a parent, or a health issue. A relationship with a financial advisor done right lasts you decades and decades with the same person.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a shame when your doctor, and that your physician, your practitioner, when they leave and you got to find a new doctor, it's a big pain in the neck. Financial advisor is 10 times worse, having to get a new one. So I personally set up my practice. I'm in my 50s. I have two partners that work with me on every one of my clients. One's in his 40s and the other guy's in his 20s. I want all of my clients to know that they can work with us for the rest of our lives. So we do it as totally a team, and that's what I think people should really be looking for.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Is that something that made you so passionate about getting into this industry in the first place? Did you go, when you went to college, did you get your degree in finance, or did you go a different path and then you decided to kind of put your eggs into the finance world and learn how to help other people in the financial industry? What made you so passionate about it?
Sure. I was always intrigued with money. They say there's a lot of money in money. I have an entrepreneurial spirit. I took a lot of interest. In fact, I originally was thinking about being a currency trader in Chicago. I thought that sounded like a lot of fun. I had somebody come into a personal finance 101 class at my school way back in 1988 at the college I went to. And he came in and he talked about how he was helping people manage their money and some of the mistakes that they were making and what an impact he was making in their lives. I also was going to be an orthodontist. I was thinking about that would be a really cool thing because I had braces as a kid, and it was really neat how it changed my life, having crooked teeth go straight. But then I got into that, and I didn't really like all of the biology and chemistry.
Yeah. Yep.
Same thing with medical. And so when this guy came in, he talked about how he helped people with money. I thought that's a career for me, and I was 33 years ago, and I never looked back.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I got a couple other personal finance questions, and one of these people, they messaged us on our website, which is moneypickle.com. And they said that they just got in a car accident. Their car got totaled. The insurance gave them $10,000 for the claim. That person was curious, should they put that money into a down payment into a new vehicle, or they had $2,500 in credit card debt? Should they take $2,500 of that $10,000 that they received from the total, pay off the credit card debt, and then put $7,500 towards a new vehicle, or hold on to it, invest it, save it? What should they do with that?
Credit card debt, high interest credit card debt is the devil. Get out it. Do not pay whatever you have to do. Do not pay that high interest. Pay off the credit cards. Don't run them back up. Whatever money is left over, figure out how to get a car with what's left after you pay off that high interest rate debt.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree.
What would you consider high interest?
Well, now it feels like everything is high interest. Interest rates have gone up at a historical rate here recently. Certainly once you get into the double digits, stay away from it.
Yeah. Okay. Something that I like to do personally is, I only use my credit card for purchases, and then before the end of the month hits, I typically pay off that balance, or 2 days after the card clears, I like to pay it off instantly. Do you have any advice on whether that's smart or?
That's very smart.
Okay.
That's surprisingly smart that you're doing that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great.
There's a lot of I know a lot of credit cards out there offer these bonus points and cash back rewards, and that's something that I learned to take advantage of early on. I couldn't tell you last time I used a debit card. So
use
really
your credit card. They also offer you a lot of consumer protection, which is great. Just don't carry a balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something my dad's kind of taught me my whole life. He's like, once you do, well, he kind of wanted me to avoid getting a credit card for a long time. And then once I got one, he said, treat it as if it were a debit card, because the money on a credit card is not free money.
Oh, yeah.
They're not just giving you money.
Right.
Yeah.
He said to treat it as a debit card, and at the end of the day, you need to pay that off as quick as you can, or you will be dug into a hole you cannot get out of.
Yeah, it's so funny because every couple of months, I bank with Chase personally, and I've noticed that they increase the balance or the total spend on the card all the time, and I don't know if it's something they're doing purposely or if they're trying to get some people to rack up a couple $1,000 on their card and get those high interest payments. But that's something I've always been afraid of personally, because I don't want to spend money on stuff that I don't owe on. So I try to get rid of those bills as quick as possible, and it's been something that I've been doing since, freshman year of college.
Well, I'll tell you, this has been a great episode because it shows that somebody as smart as you can make some really good decisions and also some really bad decisions. And that's exactly what financial advising is all about, and getting opinions of other people and different perspectives.
Yeah.
Nothing is more important, like I said earlier, than your physical health, and close second is your financial health. So these little mistakes that you make, if you think about it, you're giving up 3% of your income year in and year out, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much money you make, but let's just say that's $3,000 a year that you're just saying no thank you to.
Yeah.
And then let's say that your career is 30 years long. That's $90,000 that you're not going to have down the road, not to mention all the capital gains, dividends, and interest that would compound and earn over the years, certainly into the hundreds of thousands of dollars that you're just choosing not to receive.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you're also deciding not to make the credit card companies rich.
Right.
Personal finance is more complicated than Chinese algebra. And then just when you think you got the formula figured out, the IRS comes in and changes the tax laws. They just changed them all with something called Secure Act 2.0.
Yeah.
Or your employer changes the way that the 401k works, or the menu of choices that you have. Then they come out with an HSA, or they come out with a 529 plan. Or they change the state income tax, or they change the rules on Social Security. It's just, if you want to keep up with all that stuff, go for it.
Yeah.
If not, you're going to make those simple mistakes. And just sitting here right now, you're going to think about this when you're going to bed. Man, that's hundreds of thousands. I bet you start on the 401k.
Yeah.
And you do both, and you diversify.
Yeah.
And right there is why it's smart to talk to people that do this for a living. Thank you very much. I still don't know why I'm wearing this mask, but I look forward to coming back and wearing it again for y'all.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank
We
you,
appreciate
anonymous
you,
advisor. Thank you, Nick, who
Yep.
came in from Chicago. That will wrap up today's episode. If you have any questions or you want to speak to a Pickle Pro, head to moneypickle.com.